Is the Allen Edmonds Chili Higgins Mill underrated? Today we're going to be looking at the Chili Weatherproof version of the Higgins Mill boot. But first, let me correct something I got wrong in the last video I made. I said that Alden was using fiberboard leather insoles for their shoes and boots. This is not correct. I do not want to be sending out false information, especially about a brand that I love as much as Alden. It turns out that while these insoles may not be full-grain leather, they are indeed leather insoles, not fiberboard and not leatherboard. A viewer of this channel pointed this out, and they also pointed out the fact that my boots did not have very much fiberboard in them. The only places where fiberboard exists are the heel stack and the heel counter, as there actually is no midsole in these boots. So anyway, I apologize, viewers, and I apologize to Alden. I'm correcting this mistake. And while I'm correcting mistakes, let me correct one more. I said that Molded Shoe has more shoes and boots on the modified last than any other reseller. This is not actually true as well. The Shoe Mart has just as many, if not more. It's just that I didn't remember seeing so many in the past when I went to their website. But the Shoe Mart has a lot of boots and shoes on the modified last, so definitely check them out if you're looking for the modified last. Now, back to the Higgins Mill. I originally bought the brown Chrome XL version of the boot, which worked out pretty well overall. I figured I'd go with my dress shoe size because that's what most people recommended, but it turns out that these were always a little bit too snug at the ankle and instep area. You can kind of tell just by looking at it when I wear them. But they don't fit poorly. They actually still fit very well in the foot and heel area. This is the Chili Weatherproof version of the Higgins Mill. It has a nice darker red color that is more noticeable in the sun. In the shade, you're going to see it as almost like a burgundy color. It's more reserved. The leather comes from some kind of German tannery, although I'm not sure which one it is. It's a nicely soft kind of leather and very smooth, and it also has some stretchiness to it. It has creased quite nicely overall since I bought these in late 2021. These were also the last pair that I purchased from the Charleston outlet store before it permanently closed, which was very sad to say the least. These were actually a pair of factory seconds that I picked up. You can tell because there's imperfect burnishing on the toes, but I don't mind this kind of blemish at all, especially given the nature of this boot. Now, I've heard that these weatherproof models, they contain a protective layer within the lining of the ankle area. It's not supposed to be covering the entire lining, just the inside around the ankles. It's not supposed to make the boots any warmer, but I do feel like these boots are a little bit warmer than my original Higgins. So in this regard, I prefer the original Higgins lining over the weatherproof. The newer lining also has a bit of slickness to it. It's sort of like if you've ever run your hand across a leather couch and you get that kind of noise. I notice this a little bit when I walk as my feet, move a little bit in the boots. In regards to the last, the 1757 in my eyes is Allen Edmonds' answer to the Alden Berry. While similar in shape, it's not nearly as generous as the Berry. Most people will be able to wear their usual dress size in the Higgins Mill, but in the Berry you'd probably need to size down a half size. As I said before, I actually go up a half size in the 1757, but only because I need a little bit more ankle room and more instep room, and because it's not a long last, this actually works out really well for me. I would not suggest this to most people. I would start with your usual dress shoe size and then go from there. The 1757 is one of those round, forgiving lasts similar to the Berry that's meant to fit almost everyone. The heel is nicely snug without being too narrow, while there's plenty of width in the ball. What I also appreciate about it is that they did not add too much room above the toes. It's just right. It's not the longest last, as I've already said, but for boots it works out really well. I tend to wear these quite a lot, especially when it's cool or wet. They work well with any kind of jeans or certain kinds of chinos. I find the pour-on insole and the thick day-night midsole makes these extremely comfortable and great if you're on your feet the whole day. It doesn't have a steel shank that Alden uses, but I still find it provides a very good amount of support, while maybe not as good as Alden. I don't polish these boots because they are a more casual style, so I only end up conditioning them from time to time with a little bit of Big 4 or similar Saphir product. The leather can scuff somewhat easily, but it generally recovers pretty well with conditioner. Everyone is aware of the Chrome XL versions of this boot, as well as the beautiful Cordovan versions, but I just felt like this version in calf was overlooked a lot. While not as beautiful as the shell version in Chili, some may actually prefer this version for a couple of reasons. Firstly, shell tends to be warmer, at least for me when I wear a shell Cordovan, so if you want something that's not quite as hot, these might be appealing to you. Now, what do I not like about this boot? There's really only a couple of minor things. I just prefer the original Higgins lining, as it wasn't as warm as this new lining, and I've already mentioned that the new lining has a sort of slickness to it that I don't like as much. I also wish the 1757 provided more room at the instep and the ankles, but I'm sure that many of you watching this would disagree, and you probably feel like it already fits you perfectly, so this is a very subjective point. Some would even say these do not fit me well just by looking at the wide lacing gap on my original pair, but perhaps a more accurate way of describing this would be to say that these are not my best or most natural boot last, but they're still a pretty good fit. Fortunately for me though, the 1757 runs shorter, so I can go up a half size or up a width and still get a better fit without making the boots too long. Probably my least favorite thing about this boot would be the laces that it comes with. Allen Edmonds laces are usually too short for me, and I also prefer something that's a little more thin and easier to lace up. This is really a minor complaint. It's easy to fix this problem. I use guarded goods or Alden laces for all my boots. Another common complaint that I've read about is that many have experienced the tongue sliding to one side of the foot. I have not experienced this yet with any pair of Higgins Mills. I've only owned a couple pair, but I can tell you this is a common criticism that I come across. Allen Edmonds introduced this little tongue loop that they added to the newer Higgins Mill, and the backstory of this, well, it would be highly amusing if everyone knew the true story behind the celebrity that complained to Allen Edmonds about this tongue issue and persuaded them to add this loop. But that's a story for another time. What else can I say that's not perfect? Well, the heel counters are okay, but they're not as good as what you would get with Alden. But then again, you're not paying Alden prices for these, are you? The price of the Higgins is $475 if you're buying it at full retail. At that price, I feel like it's overpriced, but if you can get it down around the $300 range, I think it's a very fair value. It's also more lightweight in feel compared to Alden and some other brands. So if that's not your thing, maybe this isn't the best boot for you. Would I buy another version of the Higgins? Absolutely. It's one of Allen Edmonds' best models, and it's my favorite boot in their current lineup. I have some hope that they will one day release an olive version of it. But for now, there's plenty of other versions in calf, suede, and also shell, so there's pretty much something for everyone. This is one model where I think Allen Edmonds really hit it out of the park, and I hope to see it in their lineup for a long time, for years to come. How would I rate this overall? Overall, I would rate this boot an 8 out of 10 for this Chili weatherproof version. It's a very good solid boot that checks all the important boxes for me. But I would give the original Higgins in Chrome XL a 9 out of 10 because it's such a great boot, especially for the price. It may not be absolutely perfect, but it's going to be one of those models that works out well for almost everyone. So that's it for this time. I'll be back soon with another video. Thank you for watching.